big picture session on building up the Arctic focused on how to develop hard and soft infrastructure in the region. With me today for Arctic Frontiers Offstage to discuss this session, I have Brooke Latham, Director of Defense, Loom, Marius Chramer, Head of Section of Strategic Staff of the Department of Transport at Troms County Council. Welcome to both of you. So let's start with you, Brooke. What was your main takeaway from this big picture session?
Yeah, my main takeaway from not only this session but the conference at large is that resilience and security is not only defense investments or defense technologies or ammunitions, but it's resilience. And that's resilience in our communications, in our infrastructure and our energy systems, and of our societies at large.
You also mentioned when I talked to you earlier about how the defense industry needs to collaborate with local communities. How do you see that happening and what needs to be done for that collaboration to work?
Yeah, I think it's looking in terms of the dual-use infrastructures and dual-use technologies. So thinking of energy systems, not only thinking of how do you power a military base or military operation, but how does that equally provide energy and connectivity to the local communities and to the people in the high north. And I think that needs to be the priority, is because having a resilient society is a form of deterrence. If a society has connectivity, has water, has energy, that in itself is a form of deterrence. So making sure that not only is it serving a military purpose, but also serving the people that are living here, that needs to be the main priority.
Do you see in a way this to be non-compatible, the development of the defense industry and the needs of the local community? Are there instances where this just doesn't work?
That's, I think, probably the million-dollar question, and I think that's where the collaboration between the two needs to happen, because it's making sure that it's done in a sustainable way, in a longevity way, respecting the land, making sure that this is not just for this moment, but also this is where the Prime Minister's speech this moment came in, is the fact of science, looking at how do you make sure that these systems are not just built for today or in 2030, but also in 2050. And that's where it's taking in the land, and climate science is more important than ever.
So Marius, working for the county, you're responsible for a lot of the main infrastructure, roads. This focus on security, has it changed the way that we talk about our roads?
Yes, it has. And we have to focus more on the dual use of every infrastructure and our services. I think also our politicians have made some clear priorities when it comes to also focusing on military mobility when we are investing in our regional roads. And I think also that the military concept was far away a few years ago, but now it has been on the forefront. But we also have to focus on our population, and as Brooke said, our people's resilience is also very connected to our supply, our security of supply, and that we have our main corridors open, and that we can get exports out from our businesses and imports into our communities.
You also said to me earlier that there's a heightened awareness of how the military can use the roads. Can you expand a bit on that?
Of course, there are a lot of different scenarios at the time when we have to maybe work together with our neighbors in Sweden and Finland. And we know that Norway has a special role in that term when it comes to our coastline. And I think we are, in general, more aware about our role as a NATO member here in the north, and how center stage the Arctic has become. As they said during the conference, that we used to be on the end of the map, but now we're on center stage, and that's a bit scary, but I think also an opportunity to think about our security arrangements for the future.
Do you think that this new security focus means that you, for example, at the county, need to work or collaborate in different ways than previously?
Yes, of course. We do have to collaborate more closely with our security organizations, but our main focus is still on our people, our people's needs, and our visitors' needs. And that should probably stay that way, but we always have to talk with our security organizations and our military organizations, so that we know what their needs are.
Brooke, you also mentioned collaboration, but what do you see as the main hindrance for increased collaboration in your industry?
That's a good question. I think knowledge and understanding the situation at hand, and I would say investment. Making sure of, bringing in public and private partnership. I think that also brings in the industries. That also makes sure that like the local energy companies are involved. How do we modernize those as well? And I think, that public-private partnership is a key aspect.
Have you noticed, is there more interest in those types of partnerships now that we are talking so much about security?
I think there is an overwhelming amount of interest, especially in defense investments and dual-use technologies. I think really it's then finding the actors that are serious and here to really build the longevity for European security, because this is not another hype wave. This is truly something that we have one opportunity to get right, and there's so much at stake.
So last question for you, Marius. If there's one tangible thing from your perspective that you could do to develop infrastructure in the region, what would be the one main thing?
Besides establishing a foundation for an organization that could replace the Barents organization to support our cooperation between our nations here in the northern part of Scandinavia, which I think is a really important issue to address and to find a mandate for from the governments. I think also that there is probably not one physical infrastructure project that can solve everything, but I think if I could talk from the Norwegian or from the Troms County Council's perspective, we need to have a shorter distance towards our markets. So for instance, here in Tromsø, we need to have a new road towards Narvik. And we also work very hard to try to convince the government to build a railroad from Narvik to Bardufoss. And I hope that could be something that is happening within the next 10 years from now.
Being a local of Tromsø, I heard about the dream of railroads my entire life.
Yeah,
so,
for 100 years.
Last question to you, Brooke. What would be your one thing to develop infrastructure from your perspective?
I would say more the integration of technology across. I think one great example that's already happening up here in the high north is the Andoya spaceport that ISAR Aerospace is developing launch capabilities, so to be able to provide European sovereign space capabilities. That only then provides more access to satellites, more access to monitoring, and having that capabilities within the high north will be a big increase.